A gay football league, Queer Eyes take over the White House, and climate protesters solve global warming through vandalism. It's time to name my losers of the week. Then, the real Wolf of Wall Street, Jordan Belfort, joins me with his take on cheap fakes, Bidenomics, and more. The show starts now. All right, so the left has built its house on so-called inclusion and equality, but that's all a lie. What the left really wants is special treatment for all the groups and demographics Democrats need to woo for votes. And because woke has to ruin everything, this is extended to sports. This week, the Buffalo Bills announced plans to subsidize the city's National Gay Flag Football League chapter. In a statement, the NGFFL commissioner said, quote, "Our mission is to unite the community through the spirit of competition while celebrating our diversity. By fostering an environment where everyone is welcome, we aim to build a stronger, more inclusive Buffalo. Together with the backing of the Buffalo Bills, we are creating a space where all individuals can participate, compete, and thrive." So I'm confused. Why do you have to create an environment where everyone is welcome? Are gay people currently not allowed in the regular NFL? Because in the last time I checked, they were. But this is yet another worthless virtue signal and a DEI push that actual sports fans don't give a crap about. So good job on nothing. But speaking of virtue signaling, all week the Democrats and Democrat apologists have been doing mental gymnastic bat flips and flat out lying about so-called cheap fakes of Joe Biden and his physical and mental status. So I was hopeful this next video was one of those cheap fakes, but sadly no. They purposefully put this out there.
Can we talk? Come on in. Just so you know, we're gonna fight every urge not to open drawers. It's in our DNA.
See, there's John Lewis. Yeah. So there we are on the Edmund Pettus Bridge down.
Oh, wow. Honey, right there, Madam Vice President. Yeah.
But in case that wasn't enough, there's more.
Welcome today, everyone, to the White House. I'd like to briefly answer some questions. Go ahead, I'm ready.
JVN.
Oh, yes.
Is it true that it's all your natural hair?
Yes, I can confirm that this is not a wig.
Follow-up question, do
No
you use your own
extensions.
products?
I do use JVN hair, actually exclusively for over 4 years. Next question.
Is it true Karamo is your favorite member of the Fab Five?
I will say that I can confirm that Cromwell Brown is my favorite member of the Fab Five. I also have a very strict rule that if I'm only with one of our castmates, they are in fact my favorite.
So while the family of Rachel Morin, the Maryland mom of 5 who was murdered by one of Biden's illegal aliens, was not invited to the White House, rest assured Dylan Mulvaney's hairdresser in the cast of Queer Eye was. I suppose it's a slight improvement from last year when Joe and Kamala invited that trans flasher to the people's house. You know, Russia has warships off the coast of Miami, and meanwhile, our president can't speak or stand, and his number 2 makes videos with gay hairdressers. Our country has become a real joke. And guess what else is a joke? These so-called climate protesters who, in the name of Mother Earth, vandalized Stonehenge, a prehistoric monument. They did it to protest fossil fuels. And guess what? After they sprayed orange paint all over the monument, you'll be shocked to know that nothing changed and nothing improved for anyone anywhere. These are narcissistic turds who keep doing this, and why they aren't arrested or given a swift kick in the ass is really beyond me. They are self-indulgent menaces to society, and it's clear their mommies never told them no as children, so now the world has to babysit their BS. But those are my losers of the week. Now on to this. While the Democrats may think Americans are concerned with tree hugging and gay sports, most American voters are actually concerned with the fact they can't afford things anymore. But maybe, according to them, we the people are just too stupid to realize how great things are.
Economy is one of the voters' top concerns. Obviously, polls out today show inflation is slowing. Yeah. Why do you think, though, with recent polling numbers, that potentially the policies maybe aren't resonating with some of the base or some of the Americans here in the United States?
Listen, first of all, I think that we know that it takes time for people to feel the policies.
Things are not, in fact, great, and most Americans don't seem to believe they're getting better either. In fact, a survey by Qualtrics on behalf of Intuit Credit Karma found that more than a quarter of Americans admit to skipping meals due to the high grocery store prices. Joining me now to comment on that and so much more is the real Wolf of Wall Street entrepreneur, Jordan Belfort. Jordan, it's great to have you back.
Likewise, great to be back.
So I want to jump into the economy right now. You're a money guy, you're a numbers guy, you know how all of this works. So one of the talking points coming out of the Democrat Party and the Biden White House is that the economy is actually getting better. They've added so many jobs that they killed during COVID and brought back, and the stock market is doing well, so everybody should be happy, and they should realize that things are actually much better than they believe them to be. You're a money guy. What's your take on that line?
Let's start with the economy. So first of all, the first thing that Biden did when he got in office was made us energy dependent versus energy independent and actually exporters. And energy is basically something that runs through the entire economy and makes everything more expensive. So you wonder partially why inflation went up was because of that. Because, you raise the price of oil, right? And you start, losing our independence. And that destabilizes the world, by the way, with wars and stuff like that, but also just makes everything more expensive. And they don't even count all of that in inflation, but it's for everything: manufacturing, trucking, shipping, everything becomes more expensive. So that's the first thing. The second thing, and it's just really important, is interest rates. Interest rates are up dramatically, and that's a tax on every person, everyone with credit card debt, everyone with a mortgage that isn't a fixed rate. So you have people that are dealing now with much higher interest rates, and that makes you poorer. It's not like an illusion. It's not mental gymnastics. It makes you poor. It makes everything more expensive. And also, I don't believe every other number is inflation slowing. I speak to people. Listen, it doesn't impact someone like myself that much, but I have a lot of friends in the middle class, and they're just telling me that it's really, really hard. Like my daughter is, 30 years old. They want to buy a house. Interest rates are really high right now. And, they're having difficulty finding a house they can really afford. So that's what's going on there. Now let's get to the stock market. Yeah, the stock market's reaching record highs, but it's not all stocks. It's 3 or 4 stocks that are driving the market higher. It's NVIDIA, it's Meta, okay? It's the tech sector, basically, that's really doing it. Okay, TSMC. So you have these stocks that, the AI, I don't know if there's a bubble yet, but they're in the process of a bubble, but they're driving the market to these really super high levels. But the rest of the stock market is not doing all that well. So does it help everybody? If you have a 401k, it gives you some benefit, but it's not like everybody in the country's got 401ks, and it's not a broad rally. So, you combine those two things with also, just what people have been through and watching the ineptitude and hearing people gaslight you from the White House, just telling things are great. And it costs you, it's $8 for a hamburger now at McDonald's or whatever it costs you. You know what I'm saying? So the reality is very different than what they're saying. And I think nowadays, you don't just have 3 networks or 4 networks. People are online, they're exchanging war stories. So people know the truth and they're pissed about it.
Yeah, I think grocery store prices are what are really shocking, and just the price of food to go out to eat for a family. Most families can't really afford that. If they have a larger family, they can't afford to go out to the movies and get popcorn and candy. I mean, it's just, It's limiting a lot of people in their ability to live a decent life because all their money is going to mandatory things like rent and utilities and gas. They need to pay for gas to even get to their job. So the American people are not feeling whatever this White House is feeding us. But I want to talk about this AI boom. Kamala Harris is supposedly in charge of AI, which doesn't give me great comfort. I don't really know if she's really familiar with it. I certainly am not, though, and I see that it's causing a big boom in the economy. Everyone's really excited about AI. Some people are really nervous about it. But from your perspective, is this something that's going to be the wave of the future? Are we all going to have to get used to machine learning? And what does that look like for average people?
Yeah, I'm very much involved in the AI field right now. It hasn't had a real impact on the economy yet. In fact, there's very little economic activity based on AI, but there's a lot of financial activity in the stock market, and people raising, hundreds of billions of dollars, but the return so far is not there. But that's not a surprise. Same thing was true of the internet in the early days. But I do think AI is going to fundamentally change the way that we do business. And it's concerning in some ways. If you look back historically, when advances like this come about, it ends up dramatically increasing productivity. So it becomes a net positive. But this might be a bit different, though, because this is a very different type of technology that you're talking about. And a lot of human jobs could be replaced. And hopefully people will be retrained and other new jobs will form. And that's what history tells us. But this might be a bit different. We don't know. As far as Kamala Harris goes, I'll tell you this, the top 5 people in the AI field will tell you, we don't know what to do with AI. No one really knows exactly how it works. So the fact that she's in charge of AI, I mean, like talk about being blind without a cane. It's just being blind, deaf, and dumb without a cane, because there's no way she can have any sense of what should be the first step at regulating AI. It's ridiculous.
Do you think there needs to be some regulation? Because for people like me who are not super familiar with AI, we have concerns. Not only is it going to take people's jobs, but it's just going to spin out of control. And machine learning is scary to some people that aren't familiar with it. And once you create something like this, it's really hard to put the genie back in the bottle. And I fear that machine learning and AI could really, in the future, cause some big problems if AI gets into weaponry or something like that. It just makes some of us nervous. Do you think there needs to be more regulation before it reaches that point, and would that even help?
So here's the story. I watched the Terminator when I was a kid, Terminator 2, right? It's almost like this is where we're headed. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but we're clearly headed to this place where there's going to be hyper intelligent machines. So first they're trying to get what's called AGI, as smart as a human. And it's not there yet, but it's probably less than 2 years away. But the next level up from that is called super intelligence, when they have AIs that are much, much smarter. And once that started, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, because they start designing their own algorithms and more, better ways to create even smarter AIs. And it's going to run away from humanity. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to end up destroying humanity, but it's certainly a deep concern. And regulation is definitely needed. The problem is that it's such a new field that I'm not quite sure what regulation is needed. In other words, I don't think anyone really knows yet what this is going to become. You need to have some guardrails in place, but also, what is the United States going to do about China and AI? So let's say we put these in very tight guardrails in place, which slows down the growth of AI domestically here, and China does it. And they're the first ones to reach super intelligence. That's going to have a profound impact. The first country that gets that's going to have a major edge in everything from weaponry, economics, messaging their people. I mean, it's a very scary proposition. It really is, Tommy. And, there's going to be some regulation needed, probably some now, but it's got to be the right type of regulation that allows it to continue to grow. And there are 2 schools of thought like this. At OpenAI, which is the leader right now, some people just resigned. The top people resigned from there because they were concerned that OpenAI was moving too fast without the proper guardrails in place. But, who knows where, the truth usually lies somewhere in the middle, right? But there's no doubt that there's risk in this, no doubt.
Would you advise the average American to invest in AI or in companies that foster AI? Do you think that's a safe bet?
Well, I think if you pick the best companies that are involved, then I think it's probably a good long-term bet. I think it's very difficult to try to time and say, I'm going to buy NVIDIA now because it keeps going up, because typically that's a bad way to invest. But I think, AI has a bright future. It'll be like the .com era, right? There was a massive bubble that developed, and all of these ridiculous .coms ended up going to zero and people lost tons of money. But the great ones like Amazon and so forth, right? The big ones, the few of them became massive, massive companies. But I think there's a better way to buy them is just buy the S&P 500, because you'll get exposure to all the best ones, versus trying to pick winners yourself is a very dicey business. So I think you'd be better off just going for the S&P. You'll get NVIDIA, you'll get Apple, you'll get Meta, you'll get Google. So I think it's probably a safe way to go about it.
Yeah. It's always tricky to know what these things are going to do and how they're going to better humanity or, cause a real problem. Speaking of causing a real problem, I want to get into a little politics with you. So
Sure.
the big debate is next week. I'm sure that Joe Biden wishes he had a full body transplant or some form of AI to, really help him out. We know now that certain media networks, as well as those in the White House, are trying to convince us that the videos we're already seeing, which are unedited, are somehow manipulated, and they're not. That they are cheap fakes or deep fakes, kind of an AI reference there. But no, it's just really just Joe in reality. But I'm wondering what your expectations are for next week, and do you think it's going to change people's minds when they see Donald Trump and Joe Biden side by side, no audience, no notes, just a bottle of water and whatever they got rolling around in the brain?
Well, first of all, I'm just waiting for the letter from 51 Hollywood studios that they've been authenticated as all cheap fakes. That's coming next, right? Despite the fact that they're authentic videos, right? But I'm waiting for that letter to come out. And it's coming. With the debate, I would be willing to bet anything that Joe is on some serious methamphetamine for that debate, because there's no way that Joe Biden, without serious uppers, can go on stage for 90 minutes and not make a complete and utter fool of himself. I mean, I hope he finds the podium to start, or can find his way off the podium, or doesn't just literally freeze up. My name is Mr. Freeze, by the way, from DC Comics. He's Mr. Freeze now, right? The guy freezes all the time. So let's just say that if he performs just moderately okay. Yeah, I can't imagine. He's no way he can perform well, because the guy can't tie two sentences together these days unless it's on a teleprompter, right? And even then, he might say pause, close quotation marks, right? But it's really difficult to say just how much drugs they're going to pump him up with before the debate. And I mean that. I'm not even saying that just to be partisan. I just really believe that. But either way, I don't think that's going to really change what matters. I think Trump is going to crush him, because the fact is that Trump is right on the issues. Trump is right on the issues. And, I have a lot of friends that are Democrats. I do. And I love them. We're good friends. We have different opinions. But nobody is voting for Joe Biden. People are voting against Donald Trump that don't agree with his policies or just don't like him, whatever. But no one votes for Joe Biden. Everyone knows he's a laughing stock. And even the Democrats laugh at it. But, politics is politics. They're going to vote for their man. But I think it's going to be a very, very interesting evening, which I'll be watching. And I wouldn't be shocked if Trump destroys him, even if he's on all the uppers, which he will be for sure. Because Trump, I think also Trump has come a long way. And he's far more seasoned now in his communication methods. He sticks to policy a lot more. And of course, Joe is a convicted felon. Stop it,
Yeah.
That's all. What
I
else
want
can
to
he
ask
say?
you about that. So I want to get your take on all of that. I mean, it's been a few weeks now since we got that verdict, and I think it fired a lot of people up, certainly in the fundraising for the RNC and for Donald Trump. People were pretty pissed about that verdict and feeling like it was a sham. I'm one of those people. But now the team Biden is going to spend millions and millions of dollars running ads about Donald Trump being a convicted felon, and that's really the line that they're going with. Some internal reporting saying that in the debate that Joe Biden's really going to lean on that. He's a convicted felon. He's a convicted felon. Jordan, I got to ask you, when you're watching all this, the justice system play out, you're looking at Donald Trump, they call him a convicted felon. Do you think that's going to deter people? I mean, you might be one of the best people to speak to this. It hasn't hindered you to be a convicted felon.
I don't think that it's going to deter people that were interested in voting for Donald Trump, or that were really in the middle and thinking about it. I think people are smart enough to know what's going on. All right. The lawfare is so obvious. It's beyond obvious. In this case, just completely ridiculous in every single way. It was just a ridiculous case, right? And also, by the way, I think the fact that Elon Musk now owns X, Twitter, right? They don't have a monopoly on social media anymore. And that was a big deal the last election. They had a monopoly on information. And that monopoly has been broken, at least somewhat, because, Twitter or X is a very hot space for political debate. And I also think that even Meta is going to be more in the middle, because they got caught with a lot of stuff last time. So I don't think they'll be quite as bad, especially with the whole laptop suppression thing, which was just talk about election interference, if there ever was election interference, right? So my sense is that people are hopefully smart enough not to buy into that. And when they get into the voting booth, they're going to say, it's an A/B test. How did I do under Trump? How did I do under Biden? I think it's pretty clear that the A, Trump, is a lot better than the B option, which is Biden, which is ridiculous. I'm embarrassed when I travel out of the country, and I do often. People look at us as a laughing stock now. They do. People can't believe this is your president. He's like a laughing stock, the guy. He really is. Some of the things I see, I don't understand how anyone can vote for him, but I guess I do, because they're voting against Trump, or they're so passionate about one item that it overrides their, everything else. And also they probably say, well, he's not really in charge anyway, which is true. He's a puppet. He's just a cutout, right? So I guess they're saying, well, whoever is running it is better than Trump.
That's the danger there, but I don't think the label of convicted felon, I don't think that's going to deter a lot of people. No. Maybe some people are clutching their pearls, but anybody that watched that case, I mean, I would challenge anybody who is disturbed by the convicted felon thing to tell me what he was actually charged with and the crime that he committed, because I've yet to hear a Democrat really explain it to me with certain terms, because most people are still not really sure what exactly Donald Trump did.
I'll give you an example. I have a friend, very smart, very sophisticated, and he's not a Democrat or probably leans Republican, but he didn't follow it. And after he goes, oh man, people are going to be upset about this. I'm like, what do you mean? What did he get convicted of? That was tax evasion, right? People don't know. He thought it was tax. He wrote it off on his. No, he didn't. No one knows what he was convicted of, right? And that was insane. Of course, it will get overturned on appeal. That's a guarantee, but that will happen later. But I think that especially during the trial, it worked in favor of Trump. And I think that if Biden tries to attack him with this during the debate, I think it's going to work in favor of Trump as well.
Yeah, if that's all he's got. I mean, like you said, the uppers better be upping, because it's going to be a wild ride. And, there's always a danger when you're on a drug that maybe that's going to backfire too. So I guess we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah.
Jordan,
one more thing I'll say, though, is the difference between Trump and Biden real quick is that Biden doesn't believe in anything. It's all a focus group. What's going to get us the most votes? One thing with Trump is he believes in what he's saying. Yeah, he could change his mind on certain issues based on new information, and everyone does that. But he believes in what he's saying, and I think that means a lot. It means a lot to me, by the way, that I know every policy, everywhere out of Biden's mouth is just simply the result of a focus group, and especially right now, who can get us the most votes for the next 6 months? Then we'll go back to business as usual.
Yeah, whatever they're telling him is the issue of the day. I'm not sure that he 100% knows, but he's at Camp David right now preparing for that debate. So I don't know what the training process is for that, but I'd love to be a fly on the wall. Jordan, as always, I appreciate you coming on and giving us the details on all the stuff that we don't understand in the economy, AI, all that. I appreciate your time. Good to see you. I'm glad you got out of California. God bless you, and take care.
Take care, Tommy.
All right, folks, that does it for this episode of Tomi Lahren is Fearless. And today marks the 2nd anniversary of this show. So thank you to all who have watched from the start, and welcome to all the new viewers. I truly appreciate you. Also, please like and subscribe to the YouTube channel at Tomi Lahren is Fearless. And please catch me tomorrow on Outnumbered at noon Eastern on Fox News. But until then, from Nashville, God bless and take care. What's up, guys? Thank you for watching Tomi Lahren is Fearless. If you want more of my hottest takes, must-see conversations, and of course, my final thoughts, click here and make sure you subscribe here so you'll never miss a beat. I'll be here every weekday, and I hope you'll join me.